Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the annual meeting of the Nottinghamshire Police and Crime Panel. It falls to me as a support officer to start this meeting and call for item 1, the appointment of chair. Can I invite nominations for that position, please? Yes, Councillor Ellis.
Nominate Christine Goldstraw.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder? Seconded. Thank you. Do we have any other nominations for chair? No? In which case I'll hand over to our chair for 25-26, Christine Goldstraw, to continue the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. The next thing that we have to do is, may I recommend to the panel my deputy as Councillor Ellis. Councillor Ellis has agreed to undertake this role again. So if you could propose him from the chair.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Any other nominations?
Any other nominations? In that case, Councillor Ellis is appointed as Vice Chair. Thank you.
Very good.
So we'll give me a moment to resort back to my main agenda. First of all, before taking the apologies and all the other matters, can I welcome all the new members to the panel? We hope that you find it worthwhile and that you feel able to give contributions as needed. So welcome to all our new members. Would it be helpful for people to go around them, because there are quite a few new members, aren't they?
Very much.
Well, I'm Christine Goldstraw. I have been chair here for a few years, so look forward to working with our new members and our well-established members, as well as the Commissioner and his team.
David Ellis from Gedling Borough.
I'm Andy Abrams, Executive Mayor at Mansfield.
Gary Gunn and Community Safety Officer.
Anthony Terry Cox for all Nottinghamshire Council reform.
You're independent member. Similar Holding.
Councillor Rob English at Rushcliffe, portfolio for environment and safety.
Councillor Corjack, Kingston City Council.
Councillor Linda Woodings, Nottingham City Council.
Councillor Paul Taylor, portfolio holder public protection, Nottinghamshire District Council.
Councillor John Shepherd, Bassett District Council.
Councillor John Wilmot, Community Safety Portfolio Holder, Ashford District Council.
Charlie Mason, Solicitor for the Nottinghamshire County Council.
Rachel Mottram, Governance and Compliance Manager at the Office of the Police and Crime Commissioner. Gillian Holder, Chief Finance Officer, Police and Crime Commissioner.
Angela Candolo, Deputy to Police and Crime Commissioner.
Gary Gunn, Police and Crime Commissioner.
Michelle Butchery, Gary's Chief Executive. Our expert support here.
Nicola Gessler, Assistant DSO, and Noel McMenamin, the support officer to the panel.
Just for trying to be as smooth as possible in managing this, this is a very difficult room. We can't see half of the people sitting around the side. So if we miss you, please just shout out, because it isn't, as it were, when we were in the lovely room upstairs that's not available anymore. So can we take any apologies?
None received.
None received. And can we move can we move to the minutes of the last meeting held a long time ago on the 24th of March? Agreed.
Agreed. Thank you.
Any declarations of interest by members and officers? If you have, please just put your hand up and shout out. Don't see any hands going up. Okay, thank you. Then item 5, review of membership, balanced appointment objective. This always happens after the elections and always causes quite a lot of interesting conversations. Are you going to present this?
Yes, I'll introduce the report. Very briefly, the panel's asked to review its membership and consider any changes required to meet the balanced appointment objective as required by the legislation. There is a solution to the balanced appointment objective highlighted at paragraph 12 of the report. It is, however, for the panel to decide how to meet the objective and where any additional co-optees may be drawn. And any decision that's taken to change the size will be subject to ministerial approval. My colleague Charlie Mason is also here to advise the panel on that, and perhaps if I invite Charlie to say a couple of words now.
Thank you, Chair. In approaching the panel's decision on the proposed recommendations, I wanted to highlight the panel's duty to produce a balanced panel, which is a duty under the legislation for the panel to discharge. So in approaching its duties, the panel must secure as far as reasonably possible that its appointments meet the balanced appointment objective. The balanced appointment objective is taken as being representing all parts of the relevant police area, so it's not representing the political makeup of the relevant local authorities when taken together, having the skills, knowledge and experience necessary to the crime panel to discharge its functions effectively. In discharging that objective, the duty is to secure as far as reasonably practical, but it is a duty that someone must discharge. In addition, in voting on this matter, I'm drawn to the panel's arrangements, which refers to the need for unanimity in its approval of the relevant vote for increasing the panel size. That's what members propose to do. In terms of the definition of unanimity, the definition is clarified within the arrangements. I would suggest that the safest definition is to say that it requires the approval of all members present and that any exception doesn't necessarily mean that unanimity is not achieved, noting the provisions within the actual arrangements referring to any councillor options also require the agreement of all members of the panel and also comes to unanimous agreement of all the local authorities reference to panel arrangements. The arrangements could be clearer in terms of the definition, but that would be the interpretation of the
Thank you. Okay, so the item is open for discussion.
Your chair.
Yes. Not a few job, Christine.
It's quite all right. I was quite happy to sit back. Sorry. Yes, this has taken quite a lengthy discussion, very helpful discussion at our pre-meeting. Notice Councillor Ellis has asked for the first salvo.
Yeah, I'd like to move that to meet the balanced appointment objectives reflecting the geography of the county, we increase the size of the panel to 11, 6 Labour members, 2 Conservative and 1 each from the Reform UK, Ashfield Independents and Broxfield Alliance, and we invite the County Conservative Group to nominate 1 member to be co-opted, and that we hold the independent co-optee vacancy until we fill all the independent co-optees.
Thank you. Councillor Taylor, I think.
Thank you. I'd like to second that. I know that the officer actually said that about unanimity, but the advice we had been given previously was that abstentions did not count against. And it was actually you that gave that advice. So can we just clarify that, please? Thank you.
Having had the opportunity to review it, so the question was put to me within a pre-meeting. Having had the opportunity to review it, I would change my mind to say that unanimity is for the person voting for.
I'm sorry, it's quite difficult to hear you over here.
Sorry, I apologise. In terms of achieving unanimity, my advice would be that it does require all those present to vote for. An abstention would mean that unanimity is not achieved. That would be my interpretation of the panel's arrangement.
Okay, well, I think we've got some other hands up. Councillor, is it? Yes, sorry. Thank you. Welcome.
And then just following on from that, just to clarify, if unanimity was not given for any of the options, what would happen?
The process would be that the panel can look to debate the matter further to try to get to a matter where there is unanimity on it, or potentially just a vote can't go through on the relevant matter.
Any other comments? So is your suggestion that we need to vote again?
If there have been abstentions, then
If there had been an abstention, the fact that there hasn't, we don't need to do that. We do need to do that. Sorry, it's very difficult to hear.
Sorry, if there have been abstentions to a vote, then unanimity, I suggest, has not been achieved. Therefore, the option would be either to try to achieve that unanimity or to proceed to the next item without having reached a resolution on this one.
Yes, Councillor Williams.
Chair, can I suggest if we can't reach unanimity that we defer this to the next meeting? Because it's really difficult to have that sort of conversation in this venue, in this format, and I think that would be a pragmatic way.
Thank you, Councillor. Very perhaps.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, because a bit of conflicting advice in the pre-meeting, which we might have addressed it in the pre-meeting had we got that advice. So that's the position we're in now. So yeah, I think we let defer it, because this isn't really the forum to have that kind of discussion.
Perhaps we do need some exact clarity about what it means, because I'm quite sure the last time the panel membership was changed, there were abstentions.
So to
I think vote.
thank you very much, colleagues, for your comments. It seems that it's probably appropriate that we put this for an item at our next meeting.
Should we try and have a vote?
Yes, I'm just going to.
Oh, sorry.
cover that, but in the,
Sorry.
But that's been proposed.
Yeah.
In the meantime, we need to take a vote first of all to those in favour. It's been suggested that we increase what's in the report by one member. Could we first do a vote on that particular aspect, please? And please give us time to count, because people can't see.
Yeah, by show of hands, thank you.
Okay.
And then
Abstentions? Oh, sorry. Abstentions 2. Against?
I think abstentions 3.
3.
Yes,
Yes, I missed
three
that. Thank
abstentions
you.
in
I'm
total.
expecting to go back to against.
Okay.
Is there still discontent, Councillor Taylor?
It was just I couldn't see 3, but
Yeah.
Yes,
That's the problem with the room, isn't it? You can only see so far. Thank you, colleagues.
So just to confirm, Ben, the unanimity hasn't been reached. It's been proposed that this is deferred until the September meeting. Is there a seconder for that? Yeah. And vote on that as well. Is that agreed by the panel?
Okay.
Great. Thank you.
The chair, we also said we get a clarification on whether we do need unanimity.
Yeah, I know.
One of those.
So can I just check, are you asking for some sort of report before the meeting that gives people time to consider? Is that what you're asking for, Mayor Abrahams?
Yeah, and it would be, because we've got conflicting kind of views on what's happened historically and what advice we're getting. So we obviously need clarity on that, and then a what if scenario, so we're not in the same position at the next meeting.
Should have introduced you as the County Council Solicitor. My apologies.
No, just to confirm, Chair, we would be happy to incorporate some wording in the next report to address the point of the unity.
Are people content with that? All those in favour, thank you. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, sponsor. That takes us to one of the interesting items on our agenda, and hopefully people have had plenty of opportunity to read all the presentation and background surround. Welcome. Nice to see you again. And thank you very much for the information that you sent us in plenty of time to look at this interesting report. Over to you.
Yes, yes.
Thank you for having me here today. Angela Candola, Deputy Police and Crime Commissioner. My background is 25 years experience of leading a charity on mental health, substance misuse, offending homelessness and domestic violence. And so I was appointed in 10 months ago, and I'm here today to deliver on our violence against women and girls strategy. I'm aware that we have a few new panel members, so I thought it'd be helpful to explain some background of what VAWG is and why the strategy is needed. There was a lot of consultation both in the voluntary statutory sector and with lived experience individuals and local people to develop the strategy. I will talk through this strategy, what's been developed so far, and the next steps during 2025-2026. It's important to recognise that this is not a PCC's board strategy. It's a strategy for Nottinghamshire, and it's been signed by all local authorities in Nottinghamshire. Therefore, I'll touch on the achievements and the plans of the wider partnership, as well as the work that we're doing and what I'm leading on at the OPCC. VAWG covers a range of crime types. Boys and men are also victims of these crimes. Right, it's the OPCC New Board Work and Achievements through 2024 and 25. The OPCC is carrying out many individual pieces of work, including commissioning services, some of which are highlighted here. All 5 pillars have activities already carried out, and of course, more planned for this year and beyond. With much of the prevention and supporting activity has been about ensuring that we are doing what we are doing is working, expanding on these initiatives and giving them a wider reach to try to ensure that demand is met. Some of our responding activity has included listening to our VAWG sector and holding the force to account to implement change. Our including activity has included engagement with a wide range of groups which are not currently linked into this activity. And our strengthening activity has included enhancing our relationships with specialist VAWG sector. Thank you. Here are some of our key features for partnership delivery for 2025-26. We want to ensure that as a whole system approach, we are providing a trauma-informed approach to tackling VAWG on all levels. We want to ensure that we assess the prevention needs across Nottinghamshire and create a strategy to meet the identified needs. We would like to expand our partnership approach, maybe bringing in housing associations or other key partners in the community, also including the private sector. Many partners are undertaking accreditations and training on DAHA, J9, Safe Spaces Pledges and White Ribbon. We are hoping for the outcomes of the Forces Walk in Her Shoes campaign will shape some of the next steps for partners. We also encourage all partners to continue to consult with the lived experience before making any drastic changes to service delivery. Some of this activity has already been planned and some is planned for later in the year. Ensuring safe spaces for women and girls. We are mapping geographically across the city and county, ensuring we have a mixture of venue types that can cater to all women, including the transport network, community venues, and we intend to quality assure those safe spaces, which we are currently in the process of doing. Ensuring our services truly meets the needs of women and girls from all communities. I've started the Women's Safety Board to open direct conversations with all specialist services, including buying for organisations. This was one of the initial requests I had from VAWG services that they wanted this, and we've set this up and we've had our first meeting. The PCC's office is becoming the White Ribbon accredited, which will include internal training and police policy development, as well as joint events with other accredited partners throughout the whole year. Finally, we are planning to host a regional conference in October to showcase best practice across the region, as well as looking at preventative work as well. Next slide. Right, whilst we're working hard as the PCC's office to bring partners into our strategy for Nottinghamshire, there's also a lot more to do. This is ongoing work and it will change year by year by identifying the needs of individuals, and that will be by engaging with individuals with lived experiences and working with specialists and for organisations and yourselves as well. And thank you on that. That's the end of the presentation.
Thank you, Angela. Just did a little bit of work, I can see. I'll give you a chance to get into your seat. As you'll appreciate, this has generated quite a lot of questions, so I'll give you a chance to take a drink and then we can open the floor up. But thank you very much. This is obviously a huge project that's going to take some time. Got quite a lot of questions. Perhaps one of the things when you've heard everyone else, you can give us just a guidance as to when you'll be sort of coming back, giving us some of the positives and obviously some of the negatives that happen when you're doing such a huge strategic project. But thank you for the presentation. I think we've got Councillor Wilmot as the first candidate.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for the presentation. Very informative. It is clear from the report that and the presentation that a lot of collaborative work, activity and actions have been undertaken. and are planned under the strategy. Can you elaborate on what you consider to be the scale of ambition presented by this strategy, and are the strategy outcomes measured solely through the police and crime plan? If not, how and where does this take place? Also, I'm looking at the actual reports, and some of the issues, the 84% of domestic violence is connected with ladies and young people and so forth. And what frightens me most of all, and perhaps tell me how you're going to address that, that 60% of the ladies that get all the problems don't want any action taken. Why is that? You know, it's a very, very serious issue, that. And the other issue, of course, is that this gap in prevention, it's unbelievable at the moment. And I wouldn't know what's going to happen in that area, because, as I say, prevention is 50% of the answer. If you can tell us what you're actually going to do on that issue.
Right, there's quite a few questions there, so I'll go for the last question about prevention. With prevention, as women, we can't do this alone. We need our male allies on board to stand up and challenge the kind of behaviour, the misogynistic behaviour, the way women are treated. So through our One at Living campaign in November, we are going to have 16 days of activism, and we are going to be bringing male allies on board to challenge that behaviour. And that is the way, because this is something that's been happening for over 100 years, more than 100 years, of women being victims of domestic violence. You spoke about there's 50% that don't report the incidents. It's to do with various issues. It could be because of the cultural needs. It could be of they're frightened of what's going to happen to them, where they're going to end up, or they are giving their perpetrator another chance, or they don't have the trust and confidence in the statutory services. It's a number of issues why they are not reporting as well. And some, maybe they just not empowered enough to report. So all these support services that are commissioned out there is to support them to go through that journey and give them that additional support when they do start reporting the incidents as well. And there's a couple of things. Did you make
Yes, so there was the measurement of success of the strategy. You answered that one. So you asked about measurement of the success of the strategy. So we are looking at that. It is not straightforward, because what we don't want to do is to set some targets that create perverse incentives. So more women coming forward for support, for example, that's a good thing. It's not necessarily a reflection that the crime is going up. So we need a little more time to work through that as a system, so that we can set some success measures that look at, as an entire system, because it's a partnership strategy, as an entire system, what are we doing as a partnership that can measure the success of the strategy? So that's an area of work to develop this year.
Chair, I should have introduced at the beginning Nicola Wade, who's the Head of Commission and Partnerships in the OPCC. And Nicola's team is a project lead that supports Angela on the VAWG agenda. Oh, welcome, belatedly. Did you want to come back, Cass?
Yes, just that. What I'm really looking at all the information. Only 70% of the experience of ladies experiencing sexual assault report the incident to the police. They report it to everybody else, but not to the police. How can we sort that sort of an issue out? It's a very, very serious issue.
This is where we've got to do a lot of work around raising awareness and how they should encourage them to report it to the police, and how they should report it to the police. But they need that support and they need that empowerment. And we will be talking about that in October, when we are going to be holding a East Midlands Region Conference as well. But ongoing throughout the year, we are going to do a lot of work and get our VAWG specialists to talk about it as well in community groups, and raise awareness on domestic violence and why we should report it and the need to report it as well, there's a lot of work that needs to be done around there. There's women out there who don't even know how to report it as well. Yes, there is. When they're isolated and they don't know the process, they don't know where to go, what to do. You know, we are reaching out to as many women as we can, but we've not reached out 100% to every woman. So we're looking at different ways of communication and different ways of how do we reach out to them as well.
So are we reporting it enough?
Yes, but that's where we've got to get them to encourage them to report it. But like I said, it could be for various reasons why they don't report it. They may not want to report it. They may think they'll give their perpetrator another chance, or they're frightened to report it, or they feel that nothing's going to happen if they report it. We've got to address all those underlying issues of why they're not reporting it, and that is a piece of work that we'll be working with organisations as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. We've got Councillor Woodings and Councillor Taylor.
Thank you. Councillor Wilmot has strayed substantially into the area that I was going to be asking a question about. Because obviously within your report, you talk about the increase in the use of outcome 16. The individual doesn't support further police action. So I'll tailor mine to a slightly different perspective, is that we know at the moment, and I appreciate it's a strange situation that the Police and Crime Commissioner has oversight of the court system, but no actual powers to intervene and deal with it other than liaising and meeting with the court system. But at the moment, we know there are significant delays in the court system. What interaction do we have with the criminal justice system or the Home Office for that matter in relation to speeding up the timescale that it takes for these matters to come before the courts? Because it absolutely resonates with me when you speak about people thinking that nothing's going to be done, whereas in fact, you know, it might be that they think nothing's going to be done for a really, really, really long time, and I just want to move on with my life. So how are you able to influence that without having actual levers, any sort of powers to influence the structures within the court system?
For me, I think what you're outlining, and really this is, I suppose, put context on this case, this is the biggest most powerful issue that we've got in this country at the moment. And being able to deal with this is so complex, and it's years and years of unravelling learned behaviour, behaviour that has been applauded by some people. And we've got to change the whole ethos of the thought process around women in this country. And the reality is it's probably bigger than that, because it's probably got to do with the world as well, some issues in the world. What Linda sort of points to is how our court systems are dealing, or not dealing as the case may be, in making sure that when we have somebody who is a victim of violence, that court system supports them and makes it as efficient as possible for them to get through the system. At the moment, we don't have that. As of September, Jess Phillips will be launching her strategy for VAWG, and I'm hoping that within that strategy are some lines in there to address exactly what Linda is describing. We have victims of sexual assaults, of violence within relationships, who are waiting in the courts and have been waiting for many years. That can't be right. It can't be normal, and it doesn't encourage other victims to come forward because they don't have confidence in the system. So the answer to your question is, at this point in time, I don't have an answer to be able to say exactly this is the golden bullet that's going to put that right. However, I do know that the Home Office and the government are aware of the challenges there. And I'm hoping that in the paper, we can start looking at ways in which they can start moving victims through the court system far more efficiently to get better outcomes.
Thank you. As you might expect, I've got quite a list of people wanting to ask questions. But Councillor Taylor first, please.
Thank you. I always feel really ashamed when I hear this discussion as a man, when we know that 1 in 4 women will experience domestic violence from males. And I've seen a lot of material recently appearing on social media in particular, trying to claim that violence against women and girls is from one particular group in society. Would you like to confirm, please, that the vast bulk of violence against women and girls are from white males born in this country? Because I am embarrassed to hear other allegations being made to scapegoat and to hide from the truth. It's white males that are predominantly creating this problem. Thank you.
I don't have those figures to hand. However, what I will say is that this is Great Britain, and in Great Britain, the majority of males will be white. So I can confirm that probably the case. The reality of the figures is I don't have them to hand to tell me exactly what that looks like. And as you rightfully say, all of us should be ashamed at the figures that we've got in this country. However, as I've just previously described, it's a huge challenge. The government's made a huge statement around halving this in a decade. The reality is that figures will probably go up because hopefully, if we're doing the right job, there'll be more confidence to report, there'll be more outcomes in court, and women will feel empowered to actually take that step. So that's the best answer I can probably give you.
Thank you. I've got Councillor Inglis and then Councillor Jenkins. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, it's very sad this violence against women. In fact, this morning I sat on a domestic homicide review, which is a very sad case, and just highlights the issues that Angela raised in regarding to women's understanding of what is abuse and how to address that. This case, without going into detail, was that case entirely where the victim was unaware of this controlling behaviour the offender had on her. As a result of that, in the conclusion of this report, I asked whether we can look at a national campaign to go to the Home Office as an action. Something I hope you will support. I know the things going on already with VAWG and everything, but this is looking at promoting the reasons and the behaviour of people, so people are more understanding of what is that violence, that those behaviour, whether it's financial, physical, or whatever. It's getting that message out there to everybody across the whole country to what is available. There's various different agencies we can look at, especially locally. I do think it's something that, again, using the Commissioner's words to empower people to understand that they are a victim at an early stage and they can do something about it.
I think one of the things is it's raising awareness, you're right, because a lot of victims feel it's the norm. They don't know anything different. The controlling, coercive behaviour and so forth, to them it's the norm until they hear somebody else talking about their story and what they're going through. And we are looking at putting some stories together for the county area and the city area so people can actually listen and see those and think, hold on, this is happening to me. And understanding that after they've heard somebody else going through the controlling, coercive and economic abuse behaviour. And this is where we've got to raise a lot more awareness to reach out to those individuals. You know, in the rural areas, there's a lot of women who are isolated over there. So the kind of reach into the rural areas is going to be so totally different to the reach in the city areas. And we're just actually looking at how we can reach out to them and working with the local authorities and the GP practices to do that. Because for a victim in the rural areas, it's okay to go to the GP practice. So we try to look at safe spaces in the GP practices and to discuss how we move forward on that as well. A national campaign, you've got the White Ribbon UK campaign, which comes out in November. and that is where you do 16 days of activism. We're actually getting accredited by November for that campaign, and we are going to be working with other organisations who are accredited to the White Ribbon and look at what we do all year round and not just in November, you know, to raise awareness of standing up to this misogyny and challenging this behaviour and having more and more allies, male allies on board with us to do that. So if that's a campaign which everybody could get involved in one way or the other, you can be an ambassador for the White Ribbon campaign, or you can join groups to do that work as well, or accredit an organisation to do that. That is one way forward that we can do from Nottinghamshire, and it is a national campaign as well. So,
Yeah, I think it's national prime TV time. You know, it's that awareness. You know, a lot of times they're already victims. You know, that's when they're looking for the help. You know, and that's the long way down the line, of course, somebody actually admits or realises they're having this abuse against them. So my view is it's a national campaign to highlight the behaviour of people that will constitute further, you know, like the 8 plan action. You know, you're identified at stage 1, stage 5 and 6 now when people are coming forward. You know, I'm an advocate of the White Ribbon. You know, we do a lot of work on that as well. You know, I think anything we can do to reduce this and minimise it, the better.
Chair, can I just come in? Because I do want to highlight the seriousness of this, and let me read you the definition of this, because when you read it, it is quite hard hitting. Any violent crime where women or girls account for more than 75% of all victims. Offence categories include rape and other sexual activity and grooming, strangulation and suffocation, stalking, breach of stalking order, sections 3 and sections 5, harassment, voyeurism, including upskirting, exposure, controlling and coercive behaviour, threatening to share intimate photograph or files, false imprisonment, administering poison with intent to injure and aggrieve, encouraging, assisting self-harm, sexual communication with a child, insight of a child to prostitution or pornography, domestic violence, rape and serious sexual offences, stalking and harassment, child sexual abuse and exploitation, online and tech-enabled modern slavery and human trafficking, spiking, sex work, honour-based violence. At least one victim must be female. A victim is defined as aged over 10, with girls classed as under 18. The reason I read that out is just because when you go through that list there of the abhorrent offences that there are within that, this is huge. And the impact is just absolutely massive. And one of the things that you've just touched on and has been mentioned around the room is the behaviour of men. We have to deal with men. This is a male problem, despite the fact it's called violence against women and girls. This is a male problem, and men need to deal with men and sort it out because it's not acceptable and it can't continue, regardless of what your history is. But I just think it's such a big, powerful issue within this country, and it needs to be targeted. It is an uphill struggle, and it is going to be difficult. However, I'm confident that we can make an indent into this, and hopefully with a bit of fortune, the government putting down the right policies, and of course the right sentencing for breaching the law, will encourage men to think about their behaviour and get help if they need to get help. So there will be some work around men and how we can encourage men to come and talk about what they may be finding that is challenging to them. We've got to deal with men on this issue. It's a big issue, and it is very much victim-led. It is about the violence against women and girls. However, if we don't deal with men, we don't solve the problem. So it's quite a big issue.
Definitely balance.
Absolutely. What was the page number so that members could just make it?
I think that's on my brief, isn't it?
Oh,
yeah. I think it is in the pack, though. I don't know exactly what the
but yes.
Yeah.
but there's a lot of information
There's
there.
a lot of
You got it to hand. It was just a short.
Sorry. Yeah.
I'll press on and then perhaps someone find it for us. In this order, I've got Mrs. Harding, Councillor Ellis, and then Councillor Jenkins.
Afternoon. It is me first. Yes. I'd just like to highlight something that was mentioned in the report, which was about a project, CARA, which I believe is some sort of education for kids in school, but also it highlights, it's an initiative for all first-time offenders. And what I'd like to know is how do you decide on the severity of the first-time offender to point them in the direction of Project CARA?
Is it the
Harder.
CARA, it's on page 23 of our papers, but not the report.
So I can provide a little more background detail on that if that's helpful. So CARA stands for Cautioning Adults Relationship Abuse. It is for first-time domestic abuse offenders, and the decision about whether someone is suitable or not is made by the police, but one of the most significant factors to inform that decision is about risk. So it's standard risk domestic abuse only. So it's not the higher risk levels. And it's it is an education programme. It's done in groups, but it's tailored to each individual and what's driving their offending. There is contact that's made by the police with the survivor who helps to inform the decision about whether CARA is suitable for that individual or not. And they're on 2 sessions that I think are 4 weeks apart. And there is survivor contact between each session to ensure that it's safe, there's been no further harm, and to help inform the second session.
And is there an age group that you're targeting?
It's adults.
It's only adults?
It is only adults.
Right, okay. And then sort of bearing in mind that there is this project, it would be really helpful if you could strip everything back so that if somebody has an issue or a problem, they know who to, I know you've put the contact details about who to turn to, but it's after that, you make that phone call, what happens next? And how does it get to the stage where it comes to court? I don't know, and I'm a magistrate, but I don't know what happens from that first phone call to when it comes to court. I think as a victim, it should know what happens in between, because that may frighten them. I think it's important to have that information out there. There isn't anything that I can see from what I've read today. Very helpful. Also, I'd just like to say that the report doesn't mention anything about grooming. In the document you produced today, the figures don't actually highlight anything to do with grooming gangs or honour-based marriages. So I hope that will be addressed in future discussion.
Just to make sure that that's addressed.
Thank you. Thank you. So Councillor Ellis next. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner, on page 23, paragraph 4.21, you talk about a deep dive into domestic abuse and identifying concerns within the sector about the police's domestic abuse policy, and then the force sort of changed the policy. Just wonder if you can tell us a bit more about that.
If I can chip in with a little more detail there. So this was an issue, and I will have to get back to you with the exact wording. I don't want to get the wording incorrect in this forum, but there was an issue, a minor issue with how the force was interpreting the definitions around domestic abuse and the procedure that they should be putting in place. That was raised with us by providers, domestic abuse support providers. That was raised with us. That was then raised by the OPCC with the force, and the force have now addressed that and amended amended how they are working with survivors. Now, if you'd like a little more detail on that, that will need to follow, just so that I get the wording right.
Yep. And another, later on, paragraph 4.25, you talk about the walking most used. I just wonder if you've any early results from that. That's something we wait for later on.
I was going to say the campaign was extended to improve reach. I think they're just getting the results in now. We've said that we'll support in relation to identifying the results and what to do next with it.
Presumably, will you be bringing something back to the panel?
We can do.
Absolutely.
The analysis, the detailed analysis is expected next month.
Very good, Councillor. Thank you. Councillor Jenkins, thank you.
Cheers, thank you. The reports and presentations do not specifically refer to the engagement with the nighttime economy to address violence against women and girls. So, could you explain then what work has been undertaken through the strategy with the nighttime economy providers to mitigate the risk of violence against women and girls being perpetrated, but I'd also like some information, if you can, on what more could we do from a Nottingham Community Safety Partnership to support in this, giving it a whole partnership approach to really addressing this issue and getting more people to talk about it.
In terms of the nighttime economy, we actually provide funding for the council who are delivering the Consent Coalition, where all the safe pledges and safe spaces pledges are there as well. So that's all under the council there. So they focus on the nighttime economy. They've got the Ask Angela and the safe spaces in the bars and restaurants. And we're currently doing a mapping exercise on those as well to get quality assurance on those safe spaces. So a lot is done with Consent Coalition, which is within the council with Jane Lewis with themselves there as well. So in terms of the community, you mentioned about community safety partnership.
How much more can we do collectively? Because it is a partnership approach.
Yeah.
To it, you know, to tighten up and promote and address the concerns around.
So with
the girls.
Yeah, is that with just the nighttime economy you're asking, or in general?
Well, it's about violence against the girls.
Right.
Yes, you have the nighttime economy, but it's a broader.
Right. With the violence against women and girls, you know, Nicola, head of commissioning, works very closely with the head of commissioning for the city and the county and the voluntary sector. We have different strategic groups in place where they engage on a regular basis to look at how we work together, and that's a very strong partnership. And as you can see with the strategy, all local authorities have signed up to that strategy. So that shows you the evidence of all the strong partnership working within city and county and the specialist or organisations.
So can I just finish that off? Okay. So I think to bring that all together, to support the work you're doing, it'd be great if we focus in on this area as well to support you at the NCSP.
Oh, Community Safety Partnership.
Sorry, Nottingham Community Safety Partnership.
We shall attend the Nottingham Community Safety Partnership. Yes, and Nicola.
Yeah, so the thing that I think I would add is when we went to the local authorities and asked them to sign up to the VAWG strategy, one of the requests was please could you, as employers, as public sector organisations, please could you look at this strategy and think about how you can mainstream all considerations across all the work that you do. So that might be the work that local authorities are doing around place. It might be as simple as your employer's domestic abuse policy. It might be other things, but please could you think about what else you can do to mainstream for consideration in all aspects of work where there's a relevant overlap.
Sorry, and I think that's what I'm saying. So we asked, so let's bring it together at that level. So we've got that. Yeah, that's what I'm looking to do. So we work collectively on this.
Final question on this from Councillor Woodings. Thank you.
I was just going to say that I'd asked for some information about I contacted Councillor Candola, Deputy Commissioner about the healthy relationships education programme that's being run with schools, because it said in the report there's an evaluation of that taking place. I think it would be a really useful follow-up for us to see the evaluation of that preventative education here at this panel. So I'm hoping it can be reported at a future meeting once the evaluation has been put together in a report. I just think it'd be useful for us to know, because obviously we do a lot of work. We still have maintained schools, we have links with academies as well, so that we can ensure that we are reinforcing and understanding the value of those programmes. I think there's a whole other issue, isn't there, about children that have been withdrawn from schools. So I think the government is actually looking at that now, and the safety around children who've been withdrawn from mainstream schooling. So I'm hoping that's another area where we can actually, I mean, I presume the government is putting together some guidelines on that, but we can actually develop that policy area.
Like I mentioned to Councillor Woodings, the report will be available from August, and once we receive that report, we will share that with yourselves. It's really positive to hear that you guys have links with the academies, because that is where there's the problems of engaging with the academies. So it'd be good if you can share those contact with us as well. So thank you.
Thank you. Very finally on this topic, Mayor Abrahams, thank you.
Yeah, it's a massive topic we're talking about, and it's about the culture really of many organisations. So I want to kind of when you're trying to measure something, it's very difficult for something this size. But I'm going to point particularly around the DAHA programme, and whether how many of our organisations are involved in DAHA. And I think it's a really good programme, because you're talking to your refuse collectors, you're talking to people who are going in housing, you're talking to your subcontractors, and it's all about prevention, isn't it? It's all about spotting it, and it's a really at Mansfield we've got the gold, and we're hoping to go for platinum, but I really kind of believe in this programme, because it's educational whilst it's really at a granular level where you can spot things. And I think it's something that's at least something that's fairly easily measurable, and we can see start to collect the data around as it's taken up, the number of reportings and so anyway, that's my comment around it. If we can actually start to really push that part out and measure the participation and see what it does in terms of reporting incidents.
I agree with you, it's a great accreditation to have, and it's the question that I've been asking at this conversation with Councillor Paul Taylor, because they are getting accredited for DAHA as well, is that we need to look at the outcomes. How's it measured? How we're making a difference? There's a lot of preventative work we need to do, as well as supporting survivors who are currently harmed in domestic abuse as well. But this is a really good accreditation, and we need to try to get as many, housing or local authorities and housing associations on board with this as well to do this.
It's identifying the resources. Obviously, you've got to have the places where people can flee to and get the help.
Yeah.
Well, we've exhausted really quite a lot of things and covered a lot of things. First of all, thank you, Angela. It seems a long time ago since we saw you at your appointment process, and I can see why you haven't been again, because you've clearly been snowed under putting together this huge strategy for the future, and well done you. No doubt in due course you'll come back and give us some update on specific areas, because it's a huge agenda you've got here, and so we'll rely on the Commissioner yourself to trigger when it's appropriate to perhaps come and give us an update. But thank you so much for actually a very thought-provoking strategy that I think everybody can relate certain things to in their own environment. And we wish you and your colleagues who are part of this every success over the future.
I'd just like to say, you know, Commissioner Godden has been really supportive because he knows how passionate I am about this area and how, you know, trying to get some outcomes. And the team alongside people there, and the rest of the VAWG team have been very good and committed and passionate in supporting on this. It's
but your name's on the account.
I know. Collectively, we as a team, you know, we've been here, we're successful as a team.
No, it's a huge piece of work you're embarking on, and no doubt chunks of it will need to come at different points of time, but we'll be no doubt notified by the Commission when that's appropriate. But thank you very much on behalf of everyone here today on tackling what is a huge issue that'll keep most of us going for some considerable time, I think, on this particular topic. So thank you very much, Angela, for that. If we can move now to item 7 on the agenda, and over to the Commissioner for an update report, which refers back to what's now a passing of time, I think it's fair to say, Commissioner.
I'm going to take you back, way back. No. In all seriousness, I think some of the things I'm going to talk about for those that are new to the panel might give you some clarity and perspective on the journey travelled so far and potentially where we're going to be going. So I'm going to start off with HMIC FRS. So when I came into post, within 3 days, I was in front of HMIC FRS and I inherited a force that was in engaged status. I had to do some quick time thinking and some quick time work and build a relationship with the chief as quickly as possible to get to a point where we could plot a path through and get out of engaged status. Now, for those of you that don't know what engaged status is or don't understand it and the effects it has on most forces, I'll just give you a bit of information around being in engaged status. So most forces stay in engaged status for 2 years, a minimum period of time. Some forces are in engaged status for, and they have been known to be in engaged status for 5 years. The Met are in and out of engaged status all the time. And the impact that engaged status has on a force, has on a community, has on an area, has on a county is huge because it undermines the confidence of policing. And all you ever hear in the press is that the force is in engaged status as well as these other problems. So from a public perspective point of view, being in engaged status is really powerful. To get out of engaged status is really hard. It's really hard for a force to get out of it. And the amount of work that you have to do and the governance around that work that you do it's really difficult to define. You have certain areas of engaged status, but when you're traveling through it, there's no markers to say, oh, guess what? You're one step closer to being out of engaged status. It literally is on the day when you've presented and you've presented your evidence, they will turn around to you and say, we are now satisfied. We do have inspectors that come in, and again, it's around those relationships. And if you're in a force where the force aren't accepting what the inspectors are saying, that can prolong this process. But as I say, the overarching factor in it is undermining public confidence. So when I came into post, I came into the force, which was in engaged status, and my first priority was to get Nottinghamshire Police out of engaged status as quickly as I possibly could. And the reason for that is because I want public confidence to go up in the police. I want the police to be confident, and I want the services that the police offers to the communities to be better and to be efficient and work. So my priority for that, for the last 12 months, I suppose, looking back now, had been to get them out of engaged status. We managed to do that within a 12-month period. Some of the comments that were made were around our holding to account and how robust our holding to account is, the force. And I can confirm it is robust. It is difficult for them to get around things with myself and the team. We drill into detail, we drill into exactly what the issues are. And if there are issues, we get them to admit it, which is one of the hardest things to do. And in admitting it, we can help support to put that right. This was mentioned by HMSA FRS, and also the relationship that I have with the chief In these issues, it's really important to have a really strong relationship with the Chief Constable in order to get things done, because if you don't, you're just eternally fighting. I have a really strong relationship with Kate Maynell and now Steve Cooper, and it's a healthy relationship in so much as it's full of challenge, and it's full of ways and means on how to get around things in the sense of improving policing for the communities of Nottinghamshire and how we can make things better. And if things aren't right, let's put them right. So we're very much in that space now. The dial is now pointing in the right direction in terms of Nottinghamshire Police. The dial is now pointing in the right direction in terms of crime coming down in Nottinghamshire. So we have what I call a good foundation. There is still a huge amount of work to do. We've just touched on one area. That's just one area of the work that needs to be done. Really, I suppose, achieving that in such a small space of time is a credit to my team, and also to the Chief Constable as well, and embracing it, accepting it, and let's look at ways to move forward, and we have done. So we're now at engaged status, which is a hugely powerful message to the public of Nottinghamshire.
Can I, on behalf of everyone here, wish to send absolutely tremendous effort produced by everyone involved, and well done. I think we were saddened when we heard that Nottinghamshire had gone into engage, but the work that's been done to move it out so swiftly, I think, has to be admired, and please give that to your officers on behalf of the panel.
I will do. And just to say as well that one of my sort of mantras is to put Nottinghamshire on the map, and putting Nottinghamshire on the map means that we get people like the Home Secretary coming to visit us, because we're doing really well. So I've had the Home Secretary's team who are looking at our neighbourhood policing model and suggesting to other forces that that's what they need to follow, because it is extremely comprehensive. I've also had them come up to look at our Safer Streets offer, which is another update for you. The government is looking to do a pilot of a Safer Streets during the summer, and that is about cleaning up the streets, that is about dealing with antisocial behaviour, that's about putting resources in certain communities in Nottinghamshire to really sort of cut back on crime. And those who look in the press will see that the Home Secretary came up to Beeston and on the launch of that, and did a walk through Beeston with myself and some police officers to highlight this fact that this is being launched. It's from the 30th of June to the 30th of September. I would like to continue it further, but of course that depends on resources and hopefully some great outcomes that we can hopefully demonstrate by the time we get to the 30th of September. So in my next police and crime panel, I'll have a lot more detail for you. But the point I'm making is the fact that the Home Secretary decided to come to Nottinghamshire is quite a big thing, in the sense that suddenly now we're being asked, oh, could the Home Secretary come up and have a look? So I'm very much about making sure that we have a real positive message for the communities of Nottinghamshire that we are moving in the right direction. I've also launched my new grant scheme, 300,000 for Safe and Nottinghamshire Together grant scheme. Just so that you know, we've had over 100 applications, which is the most amount of applications we've ever had. So I'm hoping out of that we got a credible diversity. We've got some new organisations hopefully in there, and we will be able to engage with them and encourage them to come forward and provide services that I hope can really have a huge impact on the communities of Nottinghamshire. So that is live. We're waiting now, obviously, to go through the processes to see what organisations we can help support and fund. And probably finally, another piece of work that I've been working on, the team's been working on, finally got it over the line, and that is we're doing an Operation SafeNet, for those who've heard the press of it. I launched this on the 18th of June. This is a collaboration with Net Trams in the city, and this is based around how do we make travel safer for everybody in Nottinghamshire coming in and out of the city and travelling on the trams. Just a bit of detail around Operation SafeNet. It is going to include one police officer, one analyst who are going to sit in the tram control room, and they're going to analyse the types of crime that there are on the tram, the individuals committing those crimes, And the police officer is there to try and link that into our neighbourhood policing model. So if we've got individuals, we've got families that are perpetually causing problems on the tram, we will engage with the local neighbourhood teams to make sure that they are stopped in their tracks and therefore hopefully starting to make the tram safer. We understand and know that a lot of the criminals in Nottinghamshire are travelling on the tram, and this is a way not only to identify them but also to make sure that we can intervene at points there. The beauty of this agreement is it's a pilot, so it will last for 12 months. I'm hoping it will be extended. I'm also hoping, my vision is that this will extend as well out to the buses and bringing the buses into some kind of formulated, coordinated safety sort of element with the police. I'm going to have conversations with certain bus companies shortly to have those conversations and see how we can join some of this up. And I suppose for me, the biggest part of this is that every single tram stop is now a safe space. They have an intercom, that it is all CCTV, and it's all lit up. And anybody who's in any form of difficulty can use this facility at the tram stop and report their crime and know that it's going to get a response. And I say as well, we also have the access to all of their CCTV all over the city at every single tram stop. And that really came out of the Violence Against Women and Girls agenda, looking for safe spaces. And it was an offer that they put on the table. And we obviously said, I think that would be a really good idea. So just moving forward, it will evolve and develop. And as I say, I'm hoping it will extend further. But at the moment, that's the agreement, that's the deal. And it is funded by NetTram. So it's a win-win-win all the way round. So there's a little bit of an update snapshot.
Oh, thank you very much, because there's been quite a period of time that we've not had an opportunity to catch up with the things that have taken place. If my colleagues will just bear with me, I have a number of questioners, but Mayor Abrams has to leave. So if we could take his question first, if colleagues don't mind.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I've got a question on what you just, there's a different question on what you just said. It was about the safe streets. Obviously, there was safe streets funding before, is it? And we've been looking at budgets, you know, that through the Community Safety Partnership, it was a very effective funding, very targeted, you know, around a lot of things you've been speaking about, domestic violence, protecting women, Ask Angela, CCTV. Is it going to be some funding that comes along and we can pitch for it? Is that what you envisage? Because our general funding has been decreased as well as the safe streets disappearing. So we've been quite concerned about that. That was my original question.
So we knew that the Safer Streets, the government funding, was going to come to an end in March. So the Commissioner got ahead of the game, led by Nicola and the team who project managed the Safer Streets approach. We felt with partners consultation that it had gone very well, very effective here. So the Commissioner has made £300,000 available to continue a situational crime prevention in the areas given to community safety partnerships. The government has also given hotspot action funding for patrols in local areas, in hotspots, basically for crime and antisocial behaviour. So when the Home Secretary announced the Safer Streets summer campaign, there was no extra government funding with that. But what the Commissioner did was call partners together, including your local authority, Mayor Abrams, and brought those community safety leads together to ask for delivery plans that brought the best of each of those initiatives together so that we can hotspot target the areas both geographically and in terms of incidents of crime and ASB. So we are capitalising on the limited funding available, but from the Commissioner. I say £300,000, the pot was originally £400,000, but because of the success of the immediate justice scheme, the Commissioner has decided to extend that until the end of March. So that's £100,000 of the £400,000 pot, and that was with the approval of all the local authorities
that we've taken that approach to extend the Safer Streets project management approach.
And there's 1.5 million for the hotspot funding, which is going to be targeted in certain areas. The other thing that I've done as well is with the CSP, particularly in the county, I've streamlined the process to just reorganise a little bit so we can just get more efficiency into me.
Brilliant. That's actually streamlined into my question, because my question was about the immediate justice funding and how successful that had been. And the fact that was ending, we're going, oh gosh, we've got something that's really successful.
It's a good scheme, isn't it? And I'm a fan of it.
So those details will be, when they come out, they'll be going to our
CSP.
CSP.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you very much. Very happily, actually. Excellent. Great stuff. Thank you very much.
Thank you, colleagues, for allowing that to happen. Thank you. We've got a number of questions, so I'll just go through them as they arrive on my page. So I think it's Councillor Cox, first of all.
Yeah, good afternoon. Firstly, can say well done, Nottinghamshire Police, for getting out to the spot they were in. Makes me feel so much happier saying that. On your report, page 74, paragraph 4.2, it states that you've got the secured funding from the Home Office for 30 full-time employed police officers, 20 PCSOs and 20 special constables to form part of the legal policing team. Have you received assurances from Nottinghamshire Police as to their timelines are going to be, the recruitment timelines are going to be met, and that when are these officers going to be on the ground deployable?
Well, the answer to that at this point in time is I haven't got specific time, specific guarantees. Do you say whether this funding is?
Yeah, so the Home Office has already started monthly monitoring of it, so we're already being back on a regular basis and progressing on all those categories there, and it's against a very specific reporting category that we do report back on annually normally. So I think we've already had a couple of conversations around where timing might. At the very start, we had to set out when in the year we thought these things would land. Of course, as with everything, it's going to be a bit fluid. So they are also monitoring how we're keeping against what we first said back in March, I think it was, when we submitted that, and also talking to us about if we're not then managing to meet the targets and maximise the funding, what else we can do to make sure we do. So there's lots of conversations going on about it at the moment. The force are very aware and alive to the fact that the timeline and the benchmark number that they're targeting. But they're used to that. We've had the police uplift programme previously, and again that was about hitting target recruitment numbers by mid-year and end of year.
So are the goalposts changing then from a timeline, do you think, or are we fairly stable?
I think we're fairly stable. It's more around, I think it's been a learning exercise for everybody in that it's quite specific in what you can claim for and what you can't claim for, and if you're not backfilling, and there's lots of different elements to it, and I suppose it's just working through all those elements and making sure we're doing the right thing in the right way in accordance with the grant agreement and the criteria.
So that leads me on to the next one with the point we just talked about, safe nets. There was a mention of a police officer and a PCS in the control room.
Analyst.
But given the numbers of police officers not on the streets, is it useful of those resources, do you think, to have a police officer and not a trained individual in their control room? I mean, I would rather see a police officer on the street than have a police officer in the control room. So could we not have that police officer replaced by a PCSO, for example, or something else? A police officer who can do the job on the street, as opposed to having him sat in an office or her in an office, just doing some sort of.
No, it's a fair point. I think the whole idea of putting a police officer in control room is so that they've got somebody with experience to be able to almost triage some of the stuff that's coming through. You don't want somebody who's not experienced in there and is sending things to neighbourhood teams that don't need to go to neighbourhood teams. So I think that bear in mind it's a pilot scheme. So I think it'll probably take about 6 months for the analyst to get a grip on what is the actual need. And it's not specifically a need specifically for net trams. It's about which criminals are on there, Are we posting them to the right neighbourhood teams? Are the neighbourhood teams getting into the families and sorting out the issue at source? And is that being done efficiently? And then I think what will happen in 6 months' time is we will review, and we'll ask the very question is, do we need to have the police officer there now? Is this something we can step back from? But at this point in time, just to get to that assessment so we know exactly what's what, I think it's worthwhile having that experience in there to mitigate against some of the issues that could be further down the line and cause police officers to take more time to sort issues out. So it's a valid question, Councillor Cox, and I will review it in 6 months' time, make a note and come and ask me in 6 months' time, and I'll have an answer for you.
Plan it in the calendar.
Absolutely.
And finally, I'm not taking up the floor, I promise.
No worries.
On your report again on page 126, the agenda indicates that while neighbourhood officer strength has increased by 25% in the past 12 months, the special constable numbers are down and the PCSO numbers are down. Again, have we been to the police and asked them for the assurances that those numbers are going to be built back up again, and what we're doing to maintain those numbers?
Yeah, well, you know that obviously the government's made a huge pledge in saying that we need 13,000 more officers. So one of our targets is absolutely to make sure that we start maintaining our numbers. We might not fully be there at this point in time, but we are moving in that direction. And I'm hoping that there will be a time where I can say to you, look, it's going to be this number and it shouldn't drop below that number. So the time for that is coming, and my accountability and my holding to account will include some of the questions that you're asking there in terms of them giving me assurance that we will have PCSOs and we will have specials. And hopefully there'll be a specials recruitment drive to bring in the numbers that we need. Okay.
Thank you. I've got Councillor Woodings and then Councillor Taylor. Thank you.
Thank you. At paragraph 4.3, you give us some really useful detail about the targeted approach to addressing very localised issues such as shoplifting, car cruising, burglary of residential premises, and also cycle thefts as well. Have you received assurance that that targeted operation in that area has reduced those crimes in absolute numbers rather than just targeting in one location and pushing that activity to a different location?
Mm-hmm. It's a difficult one to answer because I think that there is assurances because the figures are telling us that crime is going down. Some of the crimes you mentioned there have gone down. And if you read the latest ONS reports, you'll see that those sort of crime figures are in there. So it's very hard to say that us targeting an area has pushed something to somewhere else. The likelihood is there is an element of that in what we're doing. For me, the assurance is about when we, for example, have hotspot funding and we target an area, firstly, are we affecting that area in a positive way? And secondly is to read, I suppose, the data and work out whether or not that has shifted it to another area, in which case then what do we need to do in order to address that? So I think it's a longer conversation around some of the tactics that we utilise in the police and make sure that whilst we might be affecting it here, if it's going to have an impact over there, what are we doing about that? And that might be sometimes the third sector coming in and putting resources into that area. So the answer to your question is yes, I have assurances that hotspot funding is being used well. What I don't have is I don't have the data to tell me actually it's moved next door. I would like that data, so I will make a note of that.
I hope we have local intelligence, particularly about things like car cruising, because that can move around sporadically, can't it, depending on where the enforcement is. But certainly I see that we've arrested some very prolific shoplifters, which hopefully will put them in the system and hopefully reduce their overall impact. But yes, it'd be good to see the medium-term evaluation of those projects.
Absolutely.
Got Councillor Taylor and Councillor Bonner.
Thank you. On the same item, local concerns, there's two elements that I'd like to ask you about, and then a third, which would be CCTV. But we've got a serious problem occurring in Newark at the moment, partly because of the hot weather, and that is very young people riding around on pony and traps. Now, it might sound silly, but it is a serious problem. There's been at least 2 occurrences where the driver has fallen off, and the horse and cart has gone crashing into vehicles, that sort of thing. And the other element of it, which is similar, which is where there's a challenge to stop offending, is people on electric scooters, where it's now become commonplace. You can ride around on them, even though they're illegal, because they're difficult to stop. Can you look into how they can be addressed as urgent issues? Because both of those 2 things are things where people can get killed. The other area was you've had some work going on looking at the use of CCTV by the police. As you know, we're spending £750,000 on a new control room, and we haven't seen the report yet. So I wondered whether you'd be able to share it with us soon, please. Okay. And whether there's any likelihood of the money that you said might be able to come to help us with CCTV. Thank you. Okay. Well, with regard to the report, as soon as I get that, I will share it with you. That's not going to be an issue. Just some of the issues that you mentioned, obviously, horse and pony and cart and things. I'm not aware of that one, and it's obviously very specific, I think, to Newark. And I would expect that the neighbourhood inspector is picking that up and dealing with it, because I think it's very specific. But obviously it's something that needs to be addressed. But with regard to scooters, we've just been talking about this, and I think we're going to do a huge campaign around scooters and the legality and the illegality of them. And some of the work that's going to be done is just so that you know, is we're going to be working with the local college to explore technological solutions on how we can encourage the disuse of these scooters. There's also going to be a use of smart water to identify scooters, but not the individuals. So we're going to try and look at that on scooters that are causing lots of disturbances and difficulty within local areas, so that we can find out that it's the same scooter being used, take it off and get rid of it. There's also going to be trained in tactical contact. So some police officers at the moment aren't trained in that, and obviously it's really difficult because the risk of harm to the individuals using the scooter is very high in trying to get them off it. So that is one of the challenges that the police have. We're also going to be looking at stopping safely and seizing. How can we do that in local communities? Crushing campaigns as well. So we're going to be looking at that. And just also a bit of an operation to tackle fast food delivery issues. So Deliveroo, some of them are logging on to be Deliveroo drivers and riders, but they're not. They're just using the scooters for shipping other things around. So we're going to be looking into that as well. And also we're hoping to bring fire and rescue into this because of the batteries. And the challenges that we have with fires. It's probably one of the highest risks to fires, particularly in the home at this moment in time, because a lot of them are bought from abroad and they don't have any safety markings on them. So there's a lot of work in the background sort of bubbling around in terms of scooters and how we address it. I suppose it's just about how we go about advertising that. I really want to do a huge campaign about illegality, and I want to do it moving into Christmas, because a lot of parents buy the kids scooters at Christmas, not recognising that they are illegal. If they don't have tax, insurance, MOT, they're illegal. Job done. So there's a lot going on. So the answer to your question is I will update you as things evolve. Okay.
I think we've got Councillor Ellis. I think that's probably the last question on this topic.
Thank you. On page 77, talk about the Public Accountability Board on tackling hate crime and improving community cohesion. Given what we've seen in parts of the country recently. Just wondered, you may not be able to answer this. I just wondered what assurance you've had from the Temporary Chief Constable about how well Nottinghamshire is prepared for sort of disturbances that we've seen. Are you happy about?
Yeah, I think one of the factors in Nottinghamshire was the relationships that we did have with our communities. Nottinghamshire was one of the few areas that didn't go into riot. We had disorder, but we didn't go into riot. And I think that we have good relationships. So a lot of young people were kept off the street. And I think that really helped and impacted the outcome of that. We've also got quite a strong left in Nottinghamshire that also came out. And we had the left and the right, and it was almost as if the police managed the middle. But I think that was done through community connections and people talking about certain individuals perhaps not attending and keeping away from there. And that seemed to work for Nottinghamshire. So I'm quite pleased about that. I think going forward, we have to make sure that those connections are strong and that we can help and support our communities when these things happen. The likelihood is, as you've seen in the press, that there will be further disturbances and further challenges for Notts Police over this period now. So the answer to your question is, I have had assurances. I do check on them to make sure that they are in contact with the communities. We have quite strong IAGs, independent advisory groups, with lots of elements of the community in there. So we do liaise with them as well. And I think that moving forward, I think at the moment we're in a good place.
Do you want to come in?
Yeah, thank you. It was on this item. I'm not sure whether you're aware, but an extreme far right group is proposing a demonstration in Newark outside Castle House within the next week or so.
Okay.
And it's been advertised nationally with people from London, Manchester, etc. coming. Can I be assured that you are on board on tackling that as an issue to make sure it is really well policed?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you. Councillor Wozniak, did I see your hand go up?
No, I'm trying to point out that Councillor
Thank you. I wasn't sure if it was both of you. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to take us back. I don't know if you want to respond to that, anybody that comes to me, but I'm going to take us back a little bit because I actually had a question that related to the sort of hotspot that you were talking about earlier. One of the concerns that's been raised to me is that quite often the hotspot funding is based on slightly older data. And I just wondered if you could clarify like what period you look at when you're allocating hotspot funding. And the other thing that I also want to raise and bring to your attention, something I've talked about with Angela before when she came to Beeston, is just about the longevity of funding. It was really good to see that the most recent call had options for 1, 2, or I think 3 years. But also, you know, when we're looking at hotspot funding, what we've had in our area is that we have funding that tackles the problem does like die down, but then the funding goes away and it just means it comes back. And by the time we get the funding again, it's gone back to being a major issue. So instead of being able to maintain a sort of even keel, as it were, for the area, it's like you fix it, but then it has to get really bad again before the funding can come through. I've been asked by a lot of like organisations that work in it, as well as our like police partners and the people, you know, our offices in the council. You can please like look at that. And when we think about hotspot funding, also think about what happens after that funding ends.
So for the funding, the Home Office will set criteria in terms of what qualifies to be the hotspot. There is some discretion for local data and to come into the equation though, and the OPCC member of staff that project manages has gone back to the Home Office on a couple of occasions and said our data says this in terms of your definitions about where a town centre might be or where a hotspot might be. So that dialogue has been going on in the summer. I'll bring Nicola in if she wants to supplement this answer, because Nicola manages that particular member of staff. So we've got that approach where we can query the criteria in the area and make sure it works for Nottinghamshire. I spoke earlier as well about the Safer Streets Summer campaign, which has allowed the Commissioner to brigade some of the funding streams and some of the activity that we've got going on to continue that Safer Streets approach. So now Gary chairs a new PCC strategic plan, which in fact the county CSP is looking to see whether or not that actually might replace some of the CSP structures that go on in the county, but we're doing that in consultation. And that allows Gary to see all the delivery plans in the city and the county and have evaluation come forward about the impact of the funding and the brigaded initiatives, because we might have some funding here, an initiative over there, and it's about having a holistic strategic picture of what's going on and what's working importantly as well. So the PCC now has oversight and a grip on both the spend and the impact of that funding, but there is some discretion in how the Home Office allocate it.
And then if I just may add something on the sustainability of the funding, that point that you raised. The hotspot funding comes from government and it's come for a year. So it's a fair point that you make, but not one that we have, not one that we're able to change. But where Gary is able to and has made a change is the situational crime prevention funding, some of which does go to each local authority, and that's been agreed to try to give a little more sustainability and allow greater strategic planning.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. If we can move then to item 8, which is the performance update to March 2025.
Yeah, and Chair, I'm a poor replacement for Dan Howard, who's had the audacity to have a long weekend. So
things are slipping already.
So I'm conscious of time, but I'll just give some headlines as traditional, Chair, and then if members have got any questions. So yes, it is looking back at time, and there's a time lag. So
we understand that.
So to the end of March, that was obviously the first annual outturn that the commissioners panel in relation to the achievement of the peace and crime plan thus far, but it does take us to the end of March. And it shows that 6 of the 12 key performance indicators, KPIs, are on track to be achieved by March 2028. So just a couple of months short of the next PCC elections. 4 KPIs are falling marginally short of the current ambition, but only within 5% of points. 1 KPI is falling 5.3% below the current ambition, but that's around perceptions that the police are tackling local issues that matter most to the local people. And if I could say those that the most challenging area in terms of performance, Chair and members, that's around the actuality of crime and incidents happening and public perceptions of what's causing local concern. But the panel now is well versed, and go back to the PCC's update, especially in relation to engaged status and getting out of engaged status, and the reintroduction of neighbourhood policing model to Nottinghamshire. You know from previous reports, Chair and panel members, the investment that's been put into neighbourhood policing teams and that local problem-solving approach. We've talked in this meeting in the last item in relation to the additional funding that's coming from government and from the PCC around very locality-based tackling and prevention of crime and ASB in a particular locality. So we can already report that as of June, the Police and Crime Survey is showing upturns now and some positive green shoots in relation to perceptions and confidence in the police in relation to those measures. On a more positive note to March, victim-based crime was showing reductions of 3.7%, residential burglary down by 4.4%, vehicle crime down by 9.3%, and violent knife crime down by 3.5%. And strong reductions, we're happy to say, in first-time entrants into the criminal justice system, so down by 21%. Particularly in the city, that's seen a downward trend of 41%, and increasing referrals to victim care service, so more victims being referred for support, and maintain one of the strongest positive outcome rates for recorded crime in the country, 17.5%. And the positive outcome rates was consistently reported to HMIC FRS when Nottinghamshire Police was put into engaged status, because one of the most positive outcome rates in the country from when compared to other police forces, and that has been a maintained position for some time. So I think those were the headlines in terms of the picture. As I say, things have changed now because we're 3 or 4 months.
Thank you very much for that update. I've got a couple of questions. Councillor Button, I think you've got one question.
Wasn't expected to come in that quickly again. Yeah, so my question was actually about that public perception issue that you just talked about in your introduction, and thank you very much for sort of the update on where we've gone since then. It is something that I hear again and again from residents, that they feel like the police aren't doing enough. That, I mean, you police aren't present enough. And it's also something that actually came up in a review that Councillor English and myself looked at just this morning, where there was a serious incident, there was a chance for intervention, but the people felt that the police wouldn't do anything, and therefore that's there was nothing they could do, and they wouldn't do anything, so they didn't go forward in that case. So I just wonder if you can tell us a little bit more about those improvements that you mentioned in the figures that you talked about, and also what else you're doing in order to ensure that that performance is being turned around in those areas.
I think that there's quite a lot in that. I think obviously I don't know about the circumstances you're talking about. I think in terms of perception, this is the biggest challenge we have in what do the police do, what should they be doing, what is their responsibility, and that's partly down to shrinking services that we've had over many years. And we find ourselves in a position where the police are asked to do so many things, perhaps, that they shouldn't necessarily be doing, and therefore resources are tight because they're doing things that they shouldn't be doing. So I think the long and short of that is that resources need to be efficiently put where they need to be put. The public need to understand what the police can and can't do, what they should and shouldn't do. The problem you've got, of course, is that there's a historical problem in the sense that 999, generally speaking, you ring it when you're in your lowest time of in your highest time of need, but lowest time of understanding, and you just want something to happen. And the obvious thing to do is to ring 999 and ring the police. It might not be the police that you need. Well, the police might say, that's not something we would attend. We would get another service to attend. And I've had lots of incidents reported to me where the police have gone and the police have said, it's not for us to attend. We need to get an EMAS out or another service out to you. It's not for the police to attend. And I think that there's this perception that the police attend everything, and we have to kind of work with that a little bit, because at the end of the day, when you ring 999, you want help. So it's a catch-22, and it just breaks down the perception that the police are just not available, not around, and not there. So whilst I understand the frustration, it's probably the biggest challenge that all police and crime commissioners have is how do we get the perception over that the police are there, they are efficient, and they are working in our communities now, particularly in Nottinghamshire, in terms of our neighbourhood policing model. It's better than our surrounding forces, and I know that it's starting to really have an impact on local services within their area because the police officers are known, and there's a name to a police officer, and they can have that local relationship, which I think helps a lot. It's not, let's say, it's not the panacea of an answer in the sense that I can say this is going to solve it. What I'm just saying is probably we just need to do more work in making sure that we're in our communities, that our communities understand us, and we can support them as best as we can, whether it's with us or with other services.
Want to come back, or are you happy with the response?
I had just thought, well, I wasn't going to ask it in time, but I will in that case, since it's been asked you. It was just to say, because the other side of that obviously is, we talked earlier on about like figures, and when we talked about VAWG, we talked about, when you increase people's awareness that they can go forward, it then will probably increase the numbers, because there'll be more reports when people actually think the police are going to do something. And it also applies, I think, so to hark back to some of the comments made there, but also to say here that how would you deal with that increase? Because obviously the more trust people have in the police, the more likely they are to go. How will you then deal with that increase in workload that will come from people being like, well, actually, I will report things because the police will do something. And again, like catch-22 situation, that's the other side of it.
Chasing your tail all the time.
You then got more to act on.
Again, I don't have the panacea and answer. The reality is when that happens, we'll have to deal with it, and the government will have to start saying, actually, we can see that you need more resource. And hopefully would fund that resource. At the moment, we have the most officers in Nottinghamshire that we've ever had, and we're doing our absolute best to cover all eventualities. So, like you say, if we can get more people to report VAWG and other offences, our workload goes sky high, and we don't have any more resource to deal with it. But the encouraging sign will be that it's gone sky high, and then we can go to the government and say, give us more money.
I think the other thing to say is the police and crime plan of the commissioners puts an emphasis on prevention and working with partners so that it's everybody's business in relation to prevention and tackling the causes of the causes, because apart from more resources, which financial constraints mean you can't always ask for, then you've got to do something to try and stem the demand. The other thing is the neighbourhood policing model is now able to look at problem solving in communities around local concerns. So tackling long-term issues with problem solving approaches, again, looking at trying to turn the tap off demand rather than just keep firefighting all the time. So I think that's the emphasis in the police and crime plan. And that's what Nottinghamshire Police are focusing on with partners.
Thank you. I've got three questions in this order that they've appeared. I've got Councillor Cox, Mrs Harding, and then Councillor Shepherd.
I had a follow-up to this one.
Okay.
It was just to say that previously we've asked, we know there's a project about reducing the distraction rates of neighbourhood policing, and I think I've asked at the previous meeting if you could see the evaluation of that, and I just wanted to make sure that wasn't lost for the next meeting.
No, it wasn't, and that was cause 3 of the concerns for HMI Forest. So yeah, I'll get you those.
Yeah, thank you.
So Councillor Cox was down for
Neighbourhood policing, this is not a question, this is a statement on my behalf.
Okay.
PC Cooper, I remember my neighbourhood police officer from when I was a child. So neighbourhood policing does work. And I think it's great that it's coming back into the county. But my question is a bit of a negative one, I suppose, in the sense that on page 134 of the report, adult rape and serious sexual assaults has increased by 16%, and more is not probably not the right word, but sadly, recorded child sex exploitation increased by 43% over the last 12 months, which is quite scary, those numbers. What conversations or actions are we having with that have been taking place since the last meeting to address these significant increases?
Well, I have my regular accountability, and we have target areas that we look at. Some of what you're discussing there will be covered by, I think, probably MSU, because it's that serious, which is a group of the region forces that have teams that specifically look at very serious crime. So they would deal with that. At this point in time, I've not had a conversation with the chief about those figures. However, I shall do. But
I was just going to talk about the Criminal Justice Board last week, where the Commissioner decided to have a spotlight on rape and serious sexual offences. At the autumn meeting, I know Mrs Harding comes to the LCJB. It goes back to Councillor Wooding's question earlier around, is there any sort of holding to account powers in respect of partners? Well, the Commissioner is a systems leader with convening powers, but he can chair the local Criminal Justice Board and put a spotlight on issues to see how things can be improved for victims of rape and serious sexual offences.
Okay, thank you. So we've got Mrs Harding, and then final question from Councillor Shepherd.
I'm just looking at page 135, and I am really pleased that violent knife crime has gone down. But I'm more concerned now about modern slavery offences, which have gone up by 7%. I know you put in the report that more people are reporting it, and also the same applies for child criminal exploitation. But by reporting it more, it highlights the fact that there is a huge problem which has to be addressed. Whether you have any thoughts on that?
But well, I think you're right in pointing it out. The reality is that there is a huge problem. It's very undercover. It's very hidden. And again, it comes with the confidence of getting people to report these things that are happening. And I think that moving forward, I know that I just mentioned it with MSU, this is an area of work that they look at because it's quite difficult to manage. And I'm hoping, in essence, that figures do go up even more. I know it sounds counterintuitive, but the reality is that we need more people to report what's really going on out there. We know it's happening, but we need them to come forward. So it's sort of like we want this balance of higher reporting and better outcomes, really. And this is, I suppose, we're at the early stages of this journey of opening it up and saying, look, this is really the picture. So it's likely to get worse before it gets better.
And presumably you're working with other police forces.
Absolutely. Other police forces, other agencies are involved as well. So, absolutely.
Thank you very much. That takes us to item 9, which is the.
Sorry, I've got a question.
Sorry,
Oh,
so I do apologise, Councillor Shaw. My full apologies.
Yeah, sorry. It's a comment and a question really. On page 144, 5.3, I think you partly answered this question, Gary, about public confidence in the police, but it really shocked me that it's 45% in my area, Basketball, and also Europe, and it's incredibly low, isn't it? And on page 120, ongoing increase in concern of residents citing speeding as an issue and local community concern, and that I share that concern. I just wonder whether you want to comment on that. Because in the north of the county, I think generally speaking, there aren't speed cameras, relatively few police. I think there seems to be an impunity with that.
This is becoming more of an issue, and people are starting to speak about speeding and the issues there are in a lot of our rural communities. I'm currently in the process of trying to sort out a project. I can't give you the full details of that project, but it will involve, I'm hoping, other areas and speed cameras and communities more or less owning the responsibility themselves, but in many ways utilising the resource of the police and some of the enforcement agencies to make sure that it deters people from speeding. So as soon as I get that up and running, I will come and tell you all about it and how you can get involved in it. All right.
Can I just add that red light, going through red lights is also a huge issue. And people seem to ignore the fact that they're going through a red light. And there are no boxes, with cross boxes at junctions to stop people going in there. So, and I think going through a red light is a criminal offence. People are not bothered.
Okay.
Thank you. That takes us up to item 9, the Police and Crime Commissioner's complaints. I think my learned colleague from Democratic Services.
Yes, this is a high-level report, comes annually, just gives high-end information on complaints received. The report is just for noting. I just want to make a point of clarification on paragraph 7, in that the complaint that's referred to about alleged misconduct in public office is in respect, it's a legacy complaint in respect of the previous Police and Crime Commissioner. But because the timing of the report covers a period when both the previous commissioner and the current commissioner was in place. So I just wanted to make that clear for the panel. Thank you. But it's for noting only.
For noting.
Is that noted? Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. And that takes us to item 10, the work programme. Obviously, this will be something that hopefully new members to this forum will have some thoughts about for the future. Certainly in the past, Commissioner has been kind enough to give some briefing sessions at different times over the lifestyle of our year, really, which have always been very helpful. They're usually informal, but very informative. And hopefully we can arrange for some of those in the near future, particularly helpful for any new members on the panel. So we'll visit that in due course.
Yes.
There are a couple of things that you need to agree to on the recommendations. Any members, obviously, if you've got any thoughts and ideas, you can send an email to any of our colleagues and they'll see if we can accommodate your request. We want volunteers of any of our past and current members to help with the annual report. It's always an interesting one, isn't it? And that we put to the members that we would like, again, your support to continue with the arrangement that we have with Frontline. Hopefully you've read about Frontline. This is just to actually authorise the payment for the next membership of Frontline, who are very helpful to any members of the panel can contact them if they have questions, but also to our colleagues here who pick up interesting information that's helpful to our work. Anything else you want to add? No?
I'm thinking while speaking here, but we've got for the September meeting immediate justice on there, and I think originally that was on the agenda from the point of view that it was something that was coming to an end, but now it's been extended. So the panel might want to think whether they still want to have an update, or are they okay to have that considered when the immediate justice has more run its course?
Yeah, the September meeting is always quite a full agenda. Just mentioned our colleague there.
I was just going to give more information. So the Commissioner has agreed funding to extend, now the government have stopped funding, to extend till March. And while that period is going on, we're doing an evaluation of the impact,
right,
which has got to inform future funding decisions. So I don't think any listing of the panel's discussion on that before February would be meaningful. So we're happy to bring it back early next year.
Thank you. That's very helpful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's good. With March then. Yeah.
So can I just bring us back to checking particularly that members approve the sum of £420 plus VAT to continue with our association. Does anyone have any disagreement with that? Can you take it that way? In that case, unless anyone wishes to raise their hand, can I assume that everyone's in favour of supporting? Thank you very much. Thank you. I think that takes us to concluding. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you to new members for their contributions. They've been very welcome. Thank you. And thank you to the Commissioner and team. Thank you.
Thank you very much.